Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakat Wadash. Double honors, double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of the video is "And Give Them Warning from Me," right? Because that's exactly what the prophets, the men of the Lord, the teachers, right, are doing here in these last days, right? We're giving you warning, right, from the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and letting you know that the end has manifested itself. And the Most High just, gathering nations together for war. And ultimately, Jacob's trouble, and ultimately what? The implementation of the RFID chip. All of these things are, happening now in our time. This is Ezekiel 3 and 16. It says, and it came to pass at the end of 7 days, the word of the Lord Yahweh, Bashmiah came unto me, saying, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speaketh to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in iniquity, but his blood will require at thy hand. So, the warning is here. The prophets and the Lord are warning and continuing to warn. And this is what, the Lord asks of his prophets, right? His men of the Lord. So, basically repent, turn back to the Lord, seeking while he may be found, right? Because the end draweth nigh. World War III is popping off, right? World War III is here. They just haven't announced it yet. It's going to get nuclear, and once it get nuclear, that'll be the end of it all, because the nukes will be shot at America, right? Babylon the Great, and we, the prophets of the Lord that are here in America, will need to be delivered. So Yahweh Shai will come back and do that. Pursuant to Matthew 24, and going into verse 30. It says, "Yet if thou warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul." Right. So, hey, the warning is here, but the scripture says, if he be ignorant, let him be ignorant still. Right. You don't want to hearken. If you don't want to, listen to the warning, you don't want to, hearken to the sound of the trumpet being blown about the devil, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, right? That is the wicked, bringing and coming down with great wrath, pursuant to Revelation 12 and 12, right? Because he know they have but a short time. Because what? We're at the end. All right. Or it says again, when a righteous man do turn from his righteousness and commit iniquity, and I lay a stumbling block before him, he shall die. Because thou hast not given him warning, he shall die in his sin, and his righteousness, which he have done, shall not be remembered, but his blood will require at thy hand, right? So we're going to warn you. The videos are going to continue to go up, until the Most High Yahweh, Bash Yahweh Shai, close that curtain, right? We know in Amos 8 and 11, a famine of his word will come, right? The scriptures talk about how, individuals come to the prophets and the Lord, looking for a good song. I'll grab it real quick. Ezekiel, I believe it's 33 and 30. It says, Ezekiel 33 and 30, and thou also, thou son of man, the children of thy people, right? Who? Thy people are the Israelites. Still are talking against thee by the walls and the doors of the houses, right? We see it all day, every day on TikTok, right? The elder brother, Manak Tazakwa, out of GMS, South Carolina, goes into TikTok a lot. And all we see is scoffers, and mockers, and 2/3, proclaiming themselves to be 2/3, in spirit, whether they know it or not. It says, and speak one to another, everyone to his brother, saying, Come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh forth from the Lord. Why? Because the Most High Yahweh speaks by the mouth of his prophets. All right, so when you want to hear what the Lord has to say, who do you go to? You go to his men, right? You go to the prophets. When all hell is breaking loose, that's always the case. They always know who to turn to. Anybody got a serious question, they look to the true man, the prophet, to see what's up, and then when they get that answer, whatever, they go back to their folly. If they get healed, I'm thinking about Bishop Nathaniel. When he was sick, he called on the name of the Lord, the true name, right? And once that sickness went away, he went back to his folly, returning back to his own vomit. It says, and they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will do them, but they will not do them. For with their mouth they show much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness, right? It says, and lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song of one that have a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument, for they hear thy words, but they do them not. And when this comes to pass, what? The destruction, Jacob's trouble. The scriptures talk about dogs there, right? Newly created creatures. Esau in the lab right now creating something that's going to come, antagonize you individuals that don't want to hearken to the voice of the Lord Yahweh. Right? It says, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet have been among them, right? Because the prophets are warning you of all of it, everything, the fire, tempest, storm, beasts, a wild beast of terror, famines, pestilence, cannibalism, rapings, robbings, city's trouble, neighbor, not sparing neighbor, all of these things the prophet's been warning is about to, happen. So, y'all don't listen, but hey, pretty soon y'all gonna want this word, like I just said, you're gonna want it when you need it, and it won't be there, right? And so the scripture say, yeah, you shall seek the Lord early and not find him. Hey, as soon as that first raindrop hit your forehead, you're gonna be scrambling to try to find the prophet, the name of the Lord, to see what's up, but you won't find him. Amos 8:11. Behold, the days come, said the Lord Yahweh Bashmal Shad, I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor thirst, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord Yahweh Bashmal Shad. Hey, so that day is fast approaching. We can see it, And but a famine of bread and water will be here too, right? You're gonna be lacking on all fronts, everything. It says, and they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east, they shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord Yahweh, and shall not find it. In that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint with thirst, they that swear by the sin of Samaria, right? What leaning on Esau and his idols, and say, thy God, O Dan, liveth, and the manner of Bathsheba liveth, even they shall fall and never rise up again. Right? So Esau and his idols won't be able to help you, right? You better get it while you can get it, while the getting is good. So that's the warning. Here's the video. This I want to grab this first right here. All right. First, I want to grab this. Isaiah 14. It's 13. This is Isaiah 13:4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great of people, right? A tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord Yahweh Bashmiel shall post mustered the host of the battle. So the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel shall stirring up the people, right? He's stirring up the armies, right? For this great battle, this great war, and the warning is going out because this is a part of Esau not having not having much time. He has a short time, so he's gonna need to do something quick, to push forth this MOTB and bring chaos, right? How they work is order out of chaos, right? So they bring in the chaos to bring in the order. Isaiah 34:1, come near ye nations to hear and hearken ye people, that the earth hear and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation, right, which is righteous anger of Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shad upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. You have utterly destroyed them, you have delivered them to the slaughter. And the spirit, right, of course, this has already been done because it's already written. Right, so we know we get the victory. We're just waiting. Elder Apostle Gabar said what? The waiting is just the hardest part, So, here we go. And in this one, they go into a lot of different wars, right? It's just, many of the wars, as a matter of fact, you got to listen to. One of the many. This is Matthew 24, and he started 4. Matter of fact, 3. It says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Yahweh shall answer and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am anointed, and shall deceive many. So you got false prophets out there leading you astray. It says, and ye shall hear wars, and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Why? Because a lot of things need to take place, right? It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, right? So wars and rumors of wars.
Now, earlier I interviewed your friend and mine, Larry Johnson. He was, as always, in tropical splendor. I wondered if he was on his way to Venezuela. And I asked him if he'd feel safe going to Venezuela. Is Trump really going? We talked about the seven dwarfs. He's got 7 warships off the coast of Venezuela and 4,000 Marines.
Now, this is news. Why? Of course, it's news because it's war. But think about what's been happening. You got Israel, Taiwan, Ukraine, Iran, Russia, right? And even other little small things that kicked off Syria, even what Greenland, naming it to red, white, and blue. And you had him threatening Canada, right? Different things, and now Venezuela.
What are they doing, Colonel?
Well, there are 7 warships. I don't know if there are 4,000 Marines. I was told there are 4,000 Marines and sailors. That's not exactly an invasion force. But I must tell you that I see a tremendous amount of resemblance between Maduro and Saddam Hussein. If you put them side by side, they begin to look a lot alike. And we're seeing the same playbook applied. Demonize Maduro the way we demonize Saddam Hussein. Even though privately you can find a lot of people that will say, damn, we should have left Saddam Hussein in charge in Iraq. We were better off then than we are now. That may be true, but the problem with Maduro is very simply, he has a very large country. This place is the size of France and Germany combined. Only got 26 million people, but millions live on the coast in those big cities. However, and this should not be overlooked, it's probably 3rd in the world, maybe 2nd now, I don't know, in terms of reserves of oil and gas. But they have very, very expensive, let's say, luxurious emerald mines and gold mines as well in Venezuela. So I suppose if you look at all of that against the backdrop of what we're discussing with another Saddam Hussein episode, it's not impossible that we could be headed there.
Right, not impossible. We're at the end. The devil doesn't have much time. So, things are going to be increased. This is Habakkuk 2, 4. It says, a matter of fact, I'll just get it from right here. 1. Habakkuk 2:1, it says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord Yahweh Bashmiah shall answer me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. So the vision is plain upon the tables, right? The Bible, right? And the men of the Lord are carrying the correct message, 100% truth to the people for warning. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time that the enemy shall speak and not lie, though tarry. Wait for it because it will surely come and will not tarry. And we are living in that time now where these things are happening, right? But the prophets, the men of the Lord, right, from Elder Pastor Hart on down, and men of GMS have been, right, and even their elders, all going back all the way to Elder Abba Bivens, right, have been telling and warning the people, right, of what's to come, right? And we, I'll say myself, have entered into, other men's labors. These men have been laboring for a long time, telling you things that are happening now that when they were saying it was not happening and no one was listening, right? But now everyone is listening, right? It says, behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not right in him, but the just shall live by his faith. So Esau is just a wicked individual. He's not straight, right? It says, yeah, also because he transgressed by lying his different laws, his policies, decrees, and all of that. And a lot of that stuff is coming to backfire on him now in these last days, Isaiah 10. Says, woe unto them, Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. So this is what they did, but it backfired on them because it's even affecting themselves, right, their own people. It says, yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. Right, and that's now what he's trying to do. Trying to go into Venezuela and take what they have. It says, Habakkuk 2:6, it says, shall not all these take reproval against him and account him poverty against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that laid himself with thick clay. With this thick clay goes to the word Ibatya, right, which is the debt that these devils have amassed. And, these nations is not putting up with it anymore. But as you can see, they're still trying to go after it and take what, what doesn't belong to them.
Well, of course, Saddam fell because Russia was on the floor, drunk, having its pocket picked. Putin hadn't picked the country up and dusted it down then in 2003. In 2025, Venezuela has extensive relations, both with Russia and with China, just signed a massive oil deal with China, and of course has a close relationship with Iran. And so it's all very circular, this. It's the same countries, it's the same actors being threatened by the same people. It's almost like war throughout the world, isn't it?
So yeah, they're heading towards World War III. You know, everyone can clearly see what's happening. We're in World War III. No one has said it. I believe Russia might have said it, right? Even probably Iran, who knows? But we are here. Matter of fact, Revelation 11:14 says, the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. Right? And, you know, it's even more closer than when we believe, you know?
My friends, let me begin with a question that should shake us out of our comfortable assumptions. What happens when two great powers, one rising, one clinging to its dominance, collide? Not directly, but in the contested spaces of nations caught in the middle. That is precisely the question before us today when we ask whether China will defend Venezuela and what a U.S. military clash in that region could really mean. Do not be fooled. This is not merely about Venezuela. It is about a much larger struggle, one that defines the trajectory of the 21st century, the decline of an empire, and the emergence of another. When we look at history with clear and honest eyes, a sobering reality emerges. Empires do not step down quietly. They rarely accept the fading of their dominance with dignity. Instead, they thrash, they resist, they cling to their power with desperate energy, often dragging millions into needless wars and conflicts in the process. Rome expanded until its armies could no longer defend the vastness of its conquests. Britain stretched itself across the globe until it was hollowed out economically and forced to hand over its colonies. The Soviet Union poured its resources into a global rivalry until its own internal contradictions brought it crashing down. And now, the United States faces that same historic turning point. The question is not whether decline is occurring. It is how the nation will respond to it. Will it channel its resources into endless wars, trying to maintain a global dominance that is slipping? Or will it find the courage to turn inward, to invest in the needs of its own people, and create a sustainable path forward? That is the defining question of our time. Think about the extraordinary cost of maintaining global empire. Hundreds.
The answer to your question is Revelation 7:12. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth, of the sea. For the devil, you saw Edom, the so-called white man, those of the United States of America, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knows that he hath but a short time.
Hundreds of billions of dollars every year poured into a military machine spread across more than 80 countries, while at home millions of Americans struggle to pay rent, to afford health care, to send their children to decent schools. The empire demands sacrifice, but the sacrifice is never shared equally. The wealthy elite benefits from global dominance. Corporations profit from foreign oil, foreign minerals, foreign markets. But the working class pays the price in their taxes, in their sons and daughters sent to wars, in the neglected social programs that could have given them security and dignity. This is the cruel paradox. An empire insists it makes its citizens strong, yet it often leaves them weaker, poorer, more insecure. And unless that contradiction is confronted, decline becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Here is the hook that should wake us up. Every empire in decline always imagines it can reverse its trajectory by doubling down. Rome thought one more war would restore its glory. Britain believed clinging to India would preserve its status. The Soviet Union convinced itself that matching the US, weapon for weapon, would keep it standing. Yet each of these actions only accelerated their fall. The same temptations before the United States today. In Venezuela, in Ukraine, in the South China Sea, the instinct is always the same. Show force, flex military muscle, intimidate rivals into submission. But what if those rivals are no longer intimidated? What if the world no longer accepts US dominance as unquestionable? That is precisely what China's rise represents.
And that's where we're at. The weak is saying that they're strong, war is being prepared. The villain is going out. Joel 3, and I just get it from the top. Joel 3 and 1. Right, the nations will be judged. It says, for behold, in those days and in that time, and I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. So this is our gathering together, back to being, one whole nation, knowing who we are, waking up to the fact that we're Israelites. Referring to Ezekiel 37, it says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, right, the Lord's judgment over there in the Levant region. It says, I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. They have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. So what, slavery? It says, yet, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense, or if you recompense me swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them up out of the place whether ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off. For the Lord Yahweh has spoken it, right? So we're going to take these nations and put them into, captivity, bondage, have taskmasters over them in our kingdom that we're going to set up. The point I wanted, 9, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. It says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong, right? So all these nations that America has been bullying, for a long time now are now, standing up to America. It says, come, assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Fifthly, cause the mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh, right? The angels of the Lord Yahweh are on the way. The Most High Yahweh also has the nuclear missiles being prepared. Right, a sword is upon these heathen, right? And that sword is the nuclear missiles. It says, let the heathen be weakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen around about. So hey, that's pretty much the point. Let's see if I can grab that sword. All right. I'll grab 11 right here. Jeremiah 51:11, it says, make bright the arrows. Right, so this is talking about those nuclear missiles. It says, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh shall have raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes, right, which is Russia, where his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple, right? I just read where they took stuff out of the temple, right? Jerusalem is trodden down of Gentiles right now until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So they're still there, right? Here we go. All right, this is Jeremiah 50 and 35. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, said the Lord Yahweh, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. A sword is upon their horses and upon their chariots and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, right? Because the whole of Babylon will be destroyed, right? It says, and they shall become as women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. Right? Once again, going to what? Even our people are, leaning on Esau and trusting in his idols. It says, therefore, the wild beasts of the desert, with the wild beasts of the island shall dwell there, and where Babylon the Great, once it's destroyed with fire. It says, and the owl shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabitant forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. As Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, said the Lord Yahweh, Bashman Shai, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Right? This is behold, the people shall come from the north, right? Russia, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. Right. So you go into Ezekiel 38, it talks about Russia gathering many people with Russia, with themselves. You have things forming now called BRICS and different military treaties being formed with Russia here in these last days. So all these point to Bible prophecy. It says they shall hold the bow and the lance, they are cruel, and will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses. Everyone put in array like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. It said the king of Babylon have heard the report of them, and his hands wax feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pains as a woman in travail. So ultimately, even Babylon right now is fearing their enemies because what? Just like the dude said, the weakest hand of the screen now. They're bullying and weakening, telling you to do this and that, and people don't just do it. It's not happening. It's not working no more. Right. And that's why you see Trump as, he say something, I give you 30 days to blah, 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 10 days, 2 days, 1 day. All right, just forget it. Because it's not working no more. So, hey, Shalom, to elect, which consists of men, women, children, Shalom.